So I'm Liz Stokes. I'm a research advisor in health economics for the RSS. I work at the University of Oxford on health economics projects and also supervising MSc and PhD students. So I'm going to talk to you about choosing a host and a supervisory team. So first off, thinking about the environment and your host institution. So your host organisation, or also known as your contracting organisation, is a really important consideration, something that whatever the funding scheme or fellowship that you will be judged on. So you're looking for a host organisation that's going to give you an excellent level of support. So let's talk about this environment and an organisation that you're going to be in. So we're looking for a host institution, track record in quality research, with expertise in research relevant to you and your project. We don't want to just choose an institution based on convenience, although we appreciate, and NIHR appreciate, that uprooting families is challenging, so there's a balance to be struck. We want them to support you personally in your career development and in your project and research support, to understand you and your aspirations, to have all the facilities you need, and to commit to you, to support you after your award. So what's the track record of the organisation for students doing pre-doctoral awards, staying on and doing doctoral awards and beyond? So they're the sorts of things we're thinking about in terms of what we're looking for in a host institution. So here's some questions to ask and to consider. So how will your institution support you to secure and complete your fellowship or whatever funding scheme you're applying for? How will your fellowship funded research and training time be protected? And linked to that, is funding available to cover your other responsibilities? So NIHR don't want to fund you 100% of the time and then find that due to staff shortages, you're still working on half your projects and only doing 50% of your NIHR time. That's not good. So we want your institution to support you to make sure that other funding is available and other people are available to cover your other responsibilities. And then again, looking to the future, what are the prospects for a substantive post after the fellowship? Are they going to support you at the end of this? So you'll need to write a host institution, or you'll need to include a host institution statement in many of these applications. And NIHR sees the responsibility for training the next generation of research leaders as a joint enterprise with host organisations. So the organisation's track record researchers to develop their career is key. So this could include details such as evidence of bridging or other support provided upon award. The statement should describe a host organisation's approach to creating and maintaining an inclusive and supportive research culture for all. It should provide evidence of how the organisation values and supports equality, diversity and inclusion, and acknowledges the organisation's responsibilities with respect to research integrity. And statements may refer to the principles and best practice outlined in relevant charters and concordance, such as the Researcher Development Concordant. And it needs to be clearly supportive of you and personalised to you. So it could talk about flexible working if you have caring responsibilities, for tailored to you. So on that line, what we don't want to see is generic letters that could apply to anybody and make very little or no reference to you. And particularly if you've got applicants from the same organisation or several applicants from the same organisation, they don't want to see copy and paste statements where they see the same statement for two applicants. And we don't want to, letters of support that don't mention ongoing support. So here's an example of some extracts from a letter of support. I won't read it all out. You look at that yourselves, but it's just to say it introduces who's writing it, names the applicant, says what they'll be working on. So straight away, that's personalised about you. It talks about the team and the unit's qualities. And it talks about, at the end of that second paragraph, this training model has previously been successful, da, 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 da. So it talks about the group's experience and that this is tried and tested and it's worked well before, which is really reassuring to those assessing your application. And the final paragraph talks about the applicant's qualities. So they're selling you as well. The letter then goes to talk more about the environment. And in the second paragraph here, the inclusive environment within the institution. And then talks about the team and its proven track record in research and in supporting others. And towards the end of the letter, it talks about the training opportunities and opportunities for enhancing skills for the applicant, and then finishes off with a strong statement of support and recommendation for you for the award. So obviously this is quite a long letter, there's quite a lot of detail in here, but heads of department are busy. So you need to make this as easy as possible for them. So provide them with your research plan, a short CV. You may want to offer some thoughts or even some draft paragraphs that they could use in a letter of support, or perhaps your supervisor could help write this. And then they've very much got a draft that they can tweak that's going to give them the personalised information and make their job as easy as possible. So that's all I want to say about the host institution. Moving on to think about supervisors. And clearly, building a good supervisory team is really important. Getting the right supervisor is crucial. The panel will be assessing the appropriateness of your supervisors as part of their criteria. But for you, it's so important to have the right supervisor or supervisors. Really going to make such a difference to your journey. Start this process early. Your supervisors need to engage with you in developing the application. They need to write statements about themselves, but they also need to support you in writing your application and developing it. So you want them on board and engaged with you early on. So not as this image depicts. So what's the role of the supervising team? I think it falls into two broad areas. Obviously, you want them to support you with this fellowship or this funding scheme in the here and now, but they're also there to support you more generally and more widely with your career development for the future. So you want them to guide and mentor you through the academic world and be a source of good methodological advice for your project, to facilitate your project work. Make use of their networks, be a source of useful contacts, ensure safe working practices, help you pace your work sensibly and progress through your milestones, but also to allow you to develop your own path and gently challenge you to reach your potential and nurture your independence. So what makes a good research supervisor? Well, clearly they want to have substantial research expertise in your area. And you may need several supervisors to ensure that all the different aspects of your project are covered, that you've got help for all the areas that you need. You want them to have good quality research outputs. So look at where they publish and how much they've published appropriate to their stage of career. You want them to be up to date in your area of interest, and ideally to be staying put at that institution for the duration of your studies. And if you're thinking of a pre-doc and then on to a doctoral, then even longer, you'd like them to be there. You really want somebody with previous experience as a supervisor. Now, the more experience they've got, the more senior they're likely to be, the busier they're likely to be, and the less time they'll have. So if you have somebody not quite so prestigious, they may have a bit more time available. Or getting a good mix of supervisors. So somebody really senior perhaps, but somebody else alongside who's got more time can be helpful. And you can talk to previous students and see how they've got on, but also talk to them about their experience, but also see how well they've done and whether they've all got to completion. It'll help you if you and them are organised, but it's also about setting expectations about what you expect from each other, and for them to guide you through, provide deadlines, but with some flexibility, and help you along your journey. So you want a good supervisory team, but importantly, you want a team that's a good fit for you and your research. So you want them to be enthusiastic about your work, inspiring about their own interests, a good mentor, and when graft is required, think about how you work and how they work. Is it a hands-off approach or a hands-on? Again, you need to agree kind of how you'll work together. And the supervisory team should cover methods, the clinical or practice problem, aspects of training, and milestones, keeping you on track. So what do you need to include? Well, for the LA Spark, I think you'll have a placement host institution supervisor. For the pre-doctoral award, you'll need at least one academic supervisor. You can include a second, and you may want to include a practice supervisor if you're proposing funding some practice time within the award. So for the academic supervisors, you need to talk about their expertise and why you need it for this award, and their experience of supervising students. And again, for the practice, professional practice supervision for awards with funded clinical or practice work, justify their inclusion and how they support your practice and career development. So I'm just going to show some examples of supervision statements. These are actually taken from a doctoral application, but the same principles apply. The focus of the research in this one was on improving outcomes for patients having shoulder operations. Certain elements have been redacted to maintain. This is an extract for the primary supervisor, and it talks about the supervisor's own experience and how that relates to the application. So it's personalised and relevant. It talks about how many PhD students this supervisor has supervised and how supervision will be managed with this supervisor, including frequency. So again, saying what they're prepared to do. So it's all quite specific. And for this applicant, I think the applicant had 4 supervisors. So here's a couple of extracts for the other second and third additional supervisors. And again, they're describing how they will help them through this PhD. So we've got a couple of methods people here, so that their experience, excuse me, in prediction modelling and use of big data. The third one's a health economist, so they describe the support they'll provide there. And both talk about details of past supervision and current commitments. Again, NIHR don't really want to see you picking up a supervisor who's got 20 other students, because they're going to be questioning how much time you're going to get. So that's why they're interested to see that. And then finally, here's an example of a clinical supervisor statement from a doctoral application. And this was from a study on people coming to A&E for low back pain. And again, the first paragraph describes the clinical role at a senior level and broader background in commissioning and research, which makes this person suitable as a clinical practice or practice supervisor. And then the second paragraph outlines their experience in supervising allied health professionals to progress into clinical and leadership roles. It describes how supervision will be managed, and again, the frequency of meetings. And it also explains the relationship between the supervisor and the student. So, how do you find a good supervisor? Again, start early and do your research. Have a clear idea of your area of interest and find experts in that area. So look at university websites, look at scientific databases, who's published in these areas, look on Medline or PubMed. Make a short list of these people, read up about them, find out about previous students, and where they go. Look at university and departmental facilities, and approach people with a short, compelling summary. So, people get lots of inquiries, they're busy. Give a short summary of you and what you're interested in as a first approach. And it is a two-way thing. So, the supervisors need to want to take you on, but you also want to work with them. So it is a sort of two-way decision making. If you can, talk to their research team, current students, co-authors, get a feel for the team and the workplace environment. So, in summary, in choosing your host and supervisory team, start early, think about the track record of the institution and the supervisors, make sure that it's all appropriate for the work that you want to do, and you've got the right facilities, and look for places that are going to support you in your career, both now but into the future. And looking for supervisors with substantial research expertise, good quality outputs, up to date in your area, and ideally with previous experience as a supervisor, or at least one of your team with a good bit of previous experience.